The reason I'm doing this is because I know a lot of people want to go for this level, but it's quite difficult and it looks a lot harder than it is. I'm kind of surprised no one has done this yet actually, but yeah, let's get into it. The first thing I'm going to say actually is the version I'm doing this on is a bug fixed version for 240 FPS, or well, for any high refresh rate, because in the version on the servers currently, basically this last click is a frame perfect. The bug fix I've done is I've just moved this portal down by one small tick here. This is meant to be what the version is like on the servers. If I show you the hitboxes, you'll see all of these have hitboxes. It's all the same. It's just this portal has been moved down one. I definitely recommend doing this yourself if for some reason you also can't download the version on the servers with this bug fix. But yeah, let's just get into it. Honestly, the first part is not that bad. It looks a lot harder than it is, I think, but it's got a few tricky timings in there. I've nearly beaten the level. I haven't beaten it fully yet, but I know all of the parts, and I have consistency on every part, but I still sometimes die to this early part here. So I'll just quickly run through the part and show you. That's how you do it, basically. And now let me go through in speed hack with hitboxes and just show you how to beat the part, because a few of these clicks are very weird and you have to learn exactly what to do. Basically, you want to buffer as soon as you start the level first to get through these initial jumps. This second jump here, just jump late off of the slope. It's quite easy. Same with these two here. And this is where it starts getting a little bit weird, is try and jump near the end of this big slope here. But yeah, next jump, this one is kind of weird as well. You want to make sure you land on the top of this slope, wait for a bit and then jump off of the flat platform there. This one, you want to jump a bit late, and then you want to basically jump late off this one too. I like to jump late off this one and hold, because it's a bit more consistent, but you can jump a bit early here and wait a bit. Basically, you want to land at the top of this larger slope here. It can be quite inconsistent, and honestly, it takes a while to get. I'm not even consistent at it now. This is the one choke point in the first part. After that, you've pretty much beaten the entire pre-drop. You just hit that hold. If you want to go for the coin, you go down here. It's a very easy coin. On this corridor here, you want to click roughly around 15 times. Because I'm in speed hack, I clicked a few more, but you click around 15 times and then wait. There I clicked a few less. You need to kind of like eyeball it as well. Like if you think you're clicking slightly less than normal, then do only 14. This is probably the most brutal section for most people when they're getting into this level. So I'll just give you my click pattern that I use. That's kind of weird, but it's probably the most consistent click pattern. You hold after the transition, click twice quite late, hit these three, hit these two. Make sure to buffer that green orb, because otherwise you can sometimes hit the yellow orb instead, which is very weird, and I don't even know why it works like that, but it does. So buffer that, click 3 times fairly late, click 3 times here, hit this orb, click these 3, spam up this thing here. I normally do 5 clicks like that. This one again, I normally do 5, and don't do it too fast, do it fairly slow. And you should get into this next part. I remember watching EVW's video and trying to follow his. This one just feels a lot more consistent to me. I feel like there's not many areas where you have to do a really awkward double click or something like that. So it's just a very consistent, general, nice way to do the part. In full speed, I can pretty much do that part almost every attempt now because of this consistent setup. So yeah, that's the setup for that part. As you can see, I'm very consistent at it. I've done it so many times at this point that the click pattern gets burned into your mind and you just know how to do that part every time. I literally never die there anymore. So definitely recommend learning that click pattern specifically. And if it doesn't work for you, there's probably other ways of doing it. There's so many ways of doing this first part anyway. So yeah, this part here is very straightforward. You just hit the pink orbs and then you hit these 2 blue orbs. Then you go through this. This is very straightforward as well. Then we get into probably one of the weirdest parts for most people going in. Basically, what you want to do is this first orb, buffer it, and normally it works. Sometimes if you enter it a bit weirdly, you can die, but it's very rare. And then this second one, you need to wait until you've hit both of these portals and then hit it late. Same with this orb here, but you want to hit it as early as you physically can, and that's for the setup for the next part. If you just buffer it, sometimes it doesn't work. You buffer that pink orb, and you try and hit the green orb as early as you physically can without hitting that yellow orb, which is quite tough at full speed. And then you want to hit this blue orb before you hit this blue portal, but after you hit this yellow portal. which will send you down here. I rarely die at this part anymore because of how consistent it does eventually get. So even if it feels impossible initially, keep working on it and you will get it down. This part here, you hit this orb as soon as you can, but don't buffer it. This one you want to buffer, because if you don't, you will go up there and die. So don't buffer, buffer, hit these 3, and then fall, hit this one. And that's the most confusing part of the level beaten. After that, you get into the ball part, which is not very confusing. It's very straightforward, but it's probably the hardest part in terms of timings. So once you've learnt the entire level, this is probably the place you'll die the most. I'll just show you it in normal speed first, and then I'll go through it in slow speed just to teach you a few like tricks to get more consistent. But this is basically just a brute force, learn the click pattern type of part. That's the entire ball part. It's quite consistent when you learn it, but it is very difficult. So here's a few quick tips just to get you through it initially. This first click, you've got to do it early. Do this timing as early as you physically can. Wait a little bit, don't buffer afterwards. But you've also got to do that timing earlier than it looks because of the speed portal. So you want to go as close to that block as you can without hitting it as well. Do these 3 clicks, and then here you can rest on that block and fall down. And then after this, you buffer all of these inputs. It's very easy. Now, this is where it differs, I think, on refresh rates. I know in speed hack it works differently than in full speed, but you don't need to hit that orb normally. Like I'll show you in full speed, you just get through there. Yeah, into the next section, hit these orbs twice, hit these quite early, and you're onto this weird section, which is quite inconsistent, but after you learn the click patterns, it's not that bad. You want to buffer these 2 inputs without hitting that, so hit the yellow orb a little late. You want to wait until you're inside the orbs a little bit and then click twice quite quickly to set you up perfectly for the next part. Like around that sort of speed. Around like that sort of speed, you want to do it. Then on these, what I recommend in the cube portal, just to be safe, hit the yellow orb a little bit late, and then normally you can buffer the UFO transition. But yeah, the first 3 clicks are probably the hardest part of the UFO, honestly. You just click the first 2, and then on the third one you just click twice really fast, and then you're fine. Fall for a bit, click 3 times, go down into this. You want to make sure you don't hit that portal before you hit the floor. I'll show you this in full speed actually. You want to click 3 times really fast, land on the ground. Do that there where you pretty much click to the song. As you can see there, that's pretty much how you do that part. Speed hack just kind of makes stuff a little bit harder when you already know the click patterns. Click once really late there. This is the easiest half of the UFO. There's pretty much no difficult timings in this. You want to hit this orb, click before that portal, click there, click twice, hit this orb, hit these orbs quite early as well. Hit that orb early, click early, and just spam. And now you're on the most iconic part of the level, which is the spam. The wave spam is honestly one of the easiest parts in this level. It's iconic, but it's not iconic for being hard, it's iconic for being unique. So basically, if you just spam at this speed, you'll get through it. And then you're onto the memory wave, which is also very easy when you learn it. There's only like 3 actual memory parts. You spam, go up, go in the middle, spam here, get to this part, which is arguably the hardest, one of the hardest parts. This is really difficult. Basically, spam is fine, but as soon as you get into this little section, I recommend clicking 3 times and then setting yourself up intentionally to just do that. Same here, although you can do a small click there. It's just, you know, you kind of got to eyeball it and kind of get an idea for how it's already going. Improvise slightly to make sure you get through it. But it's not that bad. After that, you get onto one of the easier parts in the level, which is the ship. So what I recommend is get used to this transition in, which feels a bit like a smaller version of a pink pad. So just be ready to get slightly bumped up. Then after that, it's not actually that hard. As you can see, it's quite a simple, consistent part, but just so you know what you got to do, just click there, do a little bit of straight flying here. It's very easy straight fly. It's barely straight fly at all actually, so it's not, honestly for 60 Hz, this level is pretty good for, you know, easy extreme. Make sure to hit that green orb very early. I actually recommend letting go around this block here. You don't want to hold after each click, but let go for a second, hold, go up here, and in the straight fly, just do it as a normal straight fly, but hold it into the last portal. And then you're onto probably one of the hardest parts in the level, which is kind of brutal. But if I just show you the hitboxes, it's basically just these jumps, which are a lot tighter than they look. In this section here, remember there are spikes. Click twice, click twice. There's not really much to say in this part after you know what the hitboxes are. And then it's auto to the last part of the level. If you remember, this is the part that I fixed in my bug fix. If you want to get the coin here, it's really easy actually. You just jump, and then you hit that orb. You need to hit that orb a little bit late though, but if you jump, hit that orb, click, got the coin. It's pretty easy coin. But basically for this last part, you just want to make sure you line up the last one. Most of these orbs don't matter, as long as you're lining up the final click. So you need to remember exactly which one of those that is. You basically want to line up so that you click in the middle of the orb. As you can see there, I clicked a little bit early. I'll do it in full speed because I'm actually more used to it in full speed. But yeah, make sure you do these last few a little bit late. Then buffer, and you should get it through like that. And that's pretty much the whole level. Now, I just want to quickly talk through what I think you should practice in this level. In my opinion, it's best to start practicing from the later half. I think a good place to start your practice is this UFO here. Try and set up the first click so you buffer into this UFO, and then start practicing this UFO first. And the reason I say that is because this UFO is one of the hardest parts at the start, but it gets very consistent very quickly. For this, I'd recommend actually doing spacebar spam. After that, I'd recommend just learning the wave part, which is over here. And the reason I say that is because this wave part, you'll get it down really quickly. The second half might take a while to get down because of the really difficult timings, but after you get that down, it's fine. Learn the shift part after that, and then go to the end. And the ending you should get pretty quickly after you learn the hitboxes and the timings. It's not too bad. After that, I recommend going to the start and trying to learn the entire pre-drop, which is not that hard. It's just very weird to learn. After that, this section, as I said in the video earlier on, this section is really brutal. Well, it feels really brutal, right? Like this section feels horrible. So it's definitely one that you should learn quickly, because even though it feels really difficult, it gets consistent really quickly. There's also a very quick secret that I wanted to tell you about. If you hit these slightly too late, you can actually clip on this block and it sends you into this part kind of weirdly. So the way to survive that is don't click at all here. Basically do a double click here, which is a space bar and a normal click at the same time. And then on this one, you have to, I think, double click one of these blue orbs. Yeah, after that, I'd recommend just going through the rest of this level. Anyway, yeah, that pretty much goes over everything I wanted to say. This level is really fun. It's a very rewarding level to play. In general, I don't think there's many things wrong with it. Just make sure you learn it and you'll probably have a really good time with it. Anyway, yeah, with that being said, I just want to say, if you want me to do more of these, maybe on my own levels, like Ecstasy, my really hard levels, then make sure to let me know in the comments. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.